3 months ago, I woke up one morning and I realised I didn't love magic anymore. It was very jarring, and it's taken me the last 3 months to figure out why that happened and to get an idea of what's next. So let me start at the beginning. Ever since I learnt my first sleight of hand technique, which was the back palm, I have always managed to find another technique that is just out of reach, that kind of lets me do even more with the deck of cards. You know, I could do a pass, but what if I wanted to do it under the cover of a spread, or while turning the deck over, or maybe I wanted to make it invisible. You know, there's always another hurdle just out of reach that would allow me to do what I do better. But I kind of reached a terrible point at the end of last year, which is I could do almost anything I wanted with a deck of cards. And I certainly was not perfect, I'm not perfect, but I'd kind of reached proficiency at every technique I could reasonably expect to use. And when faced with a card trick, method was more of a Tetris puzzle than a learning process. I no longer really had any serious goals with sleight of hand. And of course I can always improve. I can always become more natural, more effortless, and more adept at weaving my sleight of hand into the moment. But the endless grind of residual improvement is hardly an inspiring mountain to climb. But there was one exception to this. There was one more mountain out there, and that was the perfect ace cutting method. It was this fantasy that had captured me since I read about the Stevens Cull, which was this kind of mythical card cheating technique that I'd heard about. It allowed you to, supposedly, without ever looking through the cards, just through shuffling, be able to locate any random card from a borrowed deck. And for me, this kind of seemed like perfect. If I could nail this, that would just be the best. And I really dove down this rabbit hole. I thrust myself into looking for every possible way to find the aces. I found ways to do it with one hand, with two hands, blindfolded, get the audience to do it for you, do it all at once, one at a time. There were just endless ways to do it, and I really went down the rabbit hole. And soon enough, I began to develop my own systems and sequences, and as time went on, they began to look more and more like that perfect method that I was chasing. And of course, I hate to break it to you, but there's no perfect method. That doesn't exist. But it was a fantasy that allowed me to kind of push sequences beyond where I thought they would go and make them even better than they could be. However, my love was for magic, and after it was eroded by fatigue and isolation, that mountain of ace cutting really couldn't sustain that love by itself. And I started to grow stale in my practice. I would be practicing the same old things over and over again and never getting anywhere. And so I started to look for new things, better things that would occupy my attention. I started to get my enjoyment from kind of like a really well-worded line or an efficient construction. And really what kept my passion alive at this point was the community of magicians I was with at the time. I was in the UK, in Nottingham, and I just was surrounded by an awesome group of magicians that spurred me on, encouraged me to keep performing, and gave me a lot of opportunities to do so. And so it really shouldn't come as a surprise that when I moved away from the UK and back to New Zealand, that my love for magic kind of fizzled out. I'd left behind that community that was spurring me on. And that wasn't the only reason, there were many other factors that came into play. I moved back to a life that really was amazing without the need for magic. All the things that I'd felt so starved of for so long, like family and Christian community and the great outdoors, came flooding back, and it was kind of easy to put magic to the side. Magic was never something I felt I needed, but it's clear in hindsight that in the absence of other purpose and enjoyment in my life, magic kind of ballooned to fill the gap. But hindsight is 20/20, and in the moment, it just kind of felt like the passion I'd been chasing for 5 years straight had been snuffed out, like a candle at the end of its wick. It was jarring and scary to think that something I'd poured so much of my time, money, and energy into could be gone. I mean, what if I'd doubled down on this, and I'd been in the UK and 19,000 kilometres away from home, and this had happened? And really, it's by the grace of God that I was already immersed in a life that filled the gap that magic had left. And as a result, it was easy to push magic to the side and kind of enjoy all those other aspects of my life. But as time went on, I realised that there are implications to leaving something behind that has been so all-consuming for so long. I mean, for starters, I have a lot of playing cards that I do not really use anymore, and I have a whole library of magic books that I don't read, and I have a whole income stream that has basically dried up. But more than all of those things, I have a lot of magic friends that it kind of just felt like I was leaving behind. And this was by far the hardest part of this whole process, and it's still the biggest thing that makes me want to come back. In fact, for the first few weeks, I didn't even tell any of my magician friends about this at all, because I didn't want them to stop talking to me. But I realised pretty quickly that burnout, if that's what you can call this, is something that everybody faces, and that reality made me far more comfortable in my situation. So what's next? That's really the big question. That's what I've been wrestling with for the last few months. Is this the beginning of the end, or the end of the beginning? Is this marking the end of my love for magic, or will this be a checkpoint that signifies a new stage in my love for the craft? And only time will tell. At the moment, I'm content to rest in this stage of life and to enjoy all those other aspects that I've missed out on for so long. And I kind of think if I came back now, it just wouldn't be for the right reasons. I'd be coming back for validation and for money, and it would be at the expense of passion and creative expression. And those things, passion and creative expression, have since found new outlets in running and poetry and writing and videography. It's been really refreshing actually to start new hobbies again and to enjoy the slower pace of life that those things bring. And for those of you who are interested, I've also started a new job, managing a climbing gym, which I really love. And although I'm not performing as much as I used to, there are always opportunities that come along that are just asking to be taken advantage of. This is not the end. I still have heaps of fun projects I really hope I get to do, and I'd still really love to go back to the UK to visit my friends over there. But it's just impossible to plan around a passion that has become so volatile. And within a few weeks of moving back to New Zealand, I just knew that it would be hard for me to live anywhere else. I just love my home too much. And unless God calls me back across the globe to do something, I think this is where I'll stay. As for social media, I might still post things occasionally as I play with them, or here on YouTube or on Instagram. But actually getting rid of those things has been one of the best parts of this whole process, and I'm definitely not keen to give that up too easily. Now I just want to clarify before I wrap up this video that I'm still deeply interested in sleight of hand. It's still something I practice all the time and think about often. And if you have an idea that you want to share with me, then feel free to. I'm happy to give my 2 cents. And if you think you can get value from one, I also offer private lessons still. I regularly coach people on sleight of hand and other areas of card magic. And I just want to kind of wrap up by saying a massive thank you to all of you guys who have supported me this far. There have been so many people who have just simply watched my videos, or given me a room to stay when I've been traveling, or just sent me a nice message on Instagram. And it's super cliche to say, but I really mean it, that it's amazing to me that something so stupid as posting videos online about magic tricks could have got me so far. That could have enabled me to spend a whole year of my life overseas doing what I love. So I really do want to express my gratitude. But more than that, I also am so grateful to God. He's the one who gave me this passion, and over the last 5 years, He has just opened so many doors at the perfect moment. And I'm even more grateful that in the absence of this passion, He has filled my life with so many good things. It all started with the back palm. It was a little move that cracked open an entire world I never knew existed. Magic has given me 5 years, half a decade of challenge, wonder, growth, and friendship. But for now, I'm stepping back, not out of emptiness, but out of fullness. As for what will happen next, I have no idea. But I trust that the God that has carried me this far will continue to walk with me into whatever's ahead.